Well, first of all, thanks for sitting through the film because I thought instead of trying to tell what I do, this was a short intro. I'm here for finding your voice, finding love, trying to find our mind, our path on this very confused future especially for young people. What does finding your voice mean? So I'm going to run a parallel of I'm going to talk about my life in terms of what are things which I thought would work and didn't work. I have huge amount of failures, huge amount of falling. So I come from a family, middle-class family. My father, economist, worked in about a dozen different countries. So I went to very fancy schools, international schools in foothills of Kilimanjaro, North Africa, all kinds of places. I didn't know the language, English that is. And other thing missing, which was really awful, I was just really, really poor in studies. I mean, awful. I have a brother who's 2 years younger to me. And there came a point where he came 1 year closer to me, and then we were in the same class, and he went ahead of me. So you can imagine the kind of pressure you have when you're 16. Everybody's looking at you. The teachers are telling you that your brother is better than you, and it can really screw you up actually. And so for me, it was more on what I found was at 13 on foothills of Kilimanjaro in this international boarding school, my first camera. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. Miserable photography, terrible pictures I would make. I wouldn't know how to load the camera. Those films would come all blank, all that. But it didn't matter. It just was something which is what I felt was my inner voice. Or I didn't have this articulation, of course. So over a period of time, and then I kept going through schools, after schools, across state. I came to India. I went to NID for a year. I don't know how I got in there. And then I went to film schools and art school and design schools and all kind of places, photography and all that. And then came a point, I was in the US and I said to myself that, what do I want to do? And I was in my early 20s. And I was with my green card and residency. And I'm talking about, this is all socialism time of India, where we didn't have much of material. We didn't have anything. We were just living in a very different world. So it was like a meal ticket to go off to America and live and work there and make this great living, material living and all that stuff. But anyway, I came back to India and I decided that let's do full-time photography. I wanted to do books, so I got into publishing, did a bunch of books and all that. The problem with me, I think right from the beginning, is my attention span, unfortunately, is less than of an ant. So I couldn't really sustain myself into photography, got into publishing, got into fashion. Then I said, okay, this is not working. Let's go do something else. Why not do film? So I went and set up a corporate communication company in Dubai. And there we did lots of these very large-scale film projects, basically. But then again, I was kind of bored, so I said, why not try a different thing, which will be a full-time publishing company. And I'm going to advise corporates on how to set up CSR program. Now, the reason I'm saying this to you is that I'm not really technically qualified with any of this stuff. I didn't go to, did my master's and blah, blah. In fact, I'll give you a small example. I was in Dubai about 20 odd years back. I got a call from American University of Dubai, AUD, and they needed like a temp in visual communication. So I got pulled into it. I spent I think 4 weeks or something. Then they offered me a job as an assistant, whatever, professor or something. And they needed but a degree of MFA, because that's what you need to teach. But I don't have anything beyond grade 7 actually, so I never studied beyond grade 7. So they just couldn't believe it. They thought I was pulling the leg or whatever. So continue in this process. The reason I'm talking about all this is that there was just so much of judgment, so much of noise, so much of everything out there, which is something is very difficult to deal with. Failures in fact make it more difficult. That how do you deal with this world where everybody is judging you, everybody is looking at you're not good enough. And I don't think we are anybody's superhuman here. We are short on one department. You may be great at your studies, but not great at social skills, and maybe social skills, but maybe not in sports or whatever, you know. So there are so many boxes, you can't really tick them all. I personally, I think because I had so much of pressure that I would keep jumping from one to the next. The reason I would do this, I think, is what really bothered me was that the minute I figured out that, okay, photography is great living I'm making, and, you know, whatever the boxes were coming with it. But then I kind of felt that I need to go beyond this. Let me go try something else. The pleasure or the blessing of being a right-brain person is that you can go and do anything you like, you know, because it's not a logical space, it's not left-brain mathematics. And I think that was one very key reason I would keep, and again, it's not like each time I made a success out of it, but I think for me, living in my own headspace actually created whatever I could do. So I want to basically fast forward this, you know, what you saw on Red Balloon, which is something I decided many years back. I actually have a suitcase with 50 cameras, and I go around the world teaching photography to kids in conflict areas. So I've spent a lot of time in Afghanistan because conflict of education, girl children. I worked in Tanzania where there's a lot of albino killings, so working with those kids. It's all a empowerment exercise, working in Sudan, working in Jordan and Palestinian camps, working in Delhi in a Vasant Kunj in a Bangladesh Iraq Pickers colony. So that is what I was doing for, I would say, parallelly for about 25 odd years. And then came a point, again, as a creative person, I was thinking like, what about it? You know, I mean, okay, I'll be dead tomorrow, and I'll say that I went to so many places, but why not create a platform for young people? And that is how Red Balloon came into being. So it's not really about me that I'm teaching every kid how to take a picture, but we are actually bringing in, you know, theater people, fashion people, you know, all kinds of people who would come in there, do those mentorship program, working with kids. We work with college kids, we do privileged, underprivileged, marginalized, and it's a global thing. We've done in many parts of East Africa, Dubai, Delhi, Bombay, all that stuff. So the reason I'm talking about that again is that I'm not a parent, I'm not from education background, I'm not from development sector. But the reason I decided to go in there is because I don't suffer from plan B in life. I have only one plan, and that is it. And when you have planned that plan A or whatever plan is, you put your heart, soul, everything in it. And you know that old Sholega dialogue, which is "Jo dar gaya so mar gaya." So you know it's about not fearing anything, because the minute you start fearing, that fear itself will stop you. You know, as they say, don't stand in your way. And I think for me, subconsciously, you know, today I can articulate it because I'm in my 50s and I can give you this great philosophy about my life. But I think at subconscious level, I kept doing things where it was like, what can be the worst thing? I never went beyond grade 7. It can't be worse than that. You know, I failed. My brother went ahead of me. It can't be worse than that. So when you have these things already behind you, then you just will go into it. You will just go push your, you know, your mind, soul, everything into it. And I think failure is a very important thing. You know, you guys must have read about it. We've all read about it and all that. But it's so important because, you know, you keep falling. Because if you don't fall, then you won't get up. And the real fun is growth, right? Getting up and getting on with it. So I won't take it into much larger philosophy. I think I've spoken enough. But, you know, I think most critical thing in life is that voice lies within yourself. You know, what choice you're going to make out of it. We'll have education, you know, you'll get, you know, get married, have kids, all that stuff. Life will be over, you know, it'll be done. Are you going to make something different? And I'm not saying that everything has to be collective and make a red balloon or something out of it, but try to do something which is going to make impact on at least one life out there. And I think that is what it means finding your voice. Thank you.